Do you hear that sound? And if you do, and you know what it is, I bet you had a little heart palpitation when you heard it. This is Sue from One Auto. Let's talk about it. So now that you heard that sound and we talked about what it makes you feel inside, the anxiety, well, we actually going to go deeper into a diagnostic about batteries and just how to diagnose one quickly with no tools. You don't even need any tools. This is just basic kind of common sense, quick diagnosing when you have a car. Do you need a battery or do you don't need a battery? Let's just go right into it. So this car we just dug out of a snowbank. Yeah, we live in New England, it's been snowing. So the battery is completely dead. We went up, we carry our jumper pack. Now the jumper pack is just as equal to someone with jumper cables in a vehicle. So, but obviously driving a vehicle around all day trying to nose them in. These great new inventions, I say new, but they've been out for like 20 years. But jumper packs come in all different sizes. This is a big one because we have lots of cars that we deal with. So I'm going to take the negative side off. And it's not even on right now. I'm just going to take it off so you can hear what this battery has to give. And when I mean it has nothing, it's dead. I am turning the key right now. There's nothing. This battery is toast. So say you're at a parking lot like at the grocery store or something, or at work, because that's where you spend more time, home and work, and this has happened to you, it's dead. Don't panic, okay? Think. Somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I have jumper cables, or hey, I actually have a jump pack, or maybe you have it. Take a deep breath. Let's get a jumper pack on it, and let's see that the car is probably going to start. Now this cool thing about these kind of jumper packs, now like I said, you don't have to buy it, but once I turn it on, it tells me what this is. The jumper pack is off. Let's see where the voltage is at. It's there, right? So now I'm not adding any voltage to it. When I hook up to this completely dead battery, there it goes, it's dropping down already. I'm going to start it up and we're going to see the voltage start up, and that will tell us that our alternator is at least putting the voltage out. All right, so now someone's jump started you. Say it's to a vehicle and you jump started and you're like, oh, thank you Bob, I can go home now. Bob's like, no problem. And he goes and disconnects the cable. And he walks away. Shuts his pack off or takes the cable off, gets in his truck, and he's gone. He's already backing down. You're like, what happened? Why did it die? I just took the source of the voltage away from it. That's how dead this battery is. So, if your battery is that dead, nowadays cars, anything from, I'm going to say 96 and up because of the weight and the complexity of the PCMs, anything from 96 and up, newer, if that battery, when it's not running, reads below 12.5, 12.4, sometimes give them the teeth, the car won't stay idling. It won't run. Jump start it, and it runs, and it stays running, then you got life left in that battery. Now you got to find out the source of why it died. Did you leave a dome light on? Do you have a prosthetic draw? Is the alternator not working? Another key thing that a lot of people have no idea is that that battery on your dash, when it's on and your car is running, doesn't mean your battery's bad. It means the alternator is not putting out voltage. Why does the manufacturers do that? I don't know. Maybe they think we're all not smart enough to know that an alternator, if you wrote alternator, I don't know, but they put the battery there. And a lot of people think, oh, my battery's no good because my battery light's on. Well, your battery's no good because your battery light's on because the alternator has not been charging your battery. So now you need an alternator and a battery. Don't just put the battery in. That's not the problem. It's the end result of a bad alternator. So now that we know this car died, the key's on, but I'm not worried about it because this battery is so dead. The reason why it died when I disconnected the voltage is because it cannot be charged again. This battery has dropped. All right, so now, and I've talked a lot about batteries, but I want to give you a physical visual of a diagnosing of a battery itself. So this isn't maintenance free. As you can see, I can take the caps off. Now this was at 3 volts. You just have to take my word on it. I didn't have a camera guy, so I checked it. It had 3 volts. So let's see where it's at. So this morning, or yesterday morning, shall I say, it was at 3 volts. So I've charged it, and let's see if it took a full charge. Yeah, we're almost at 12.4. 12.5 is a perfect battery. This tells me that there's a little story going on, but I charged it up. Now we're going to do the professional. I don't want to turn that off because I like to save my battery. So now I'm going to do the professional way. And you can get this at anything. You can get it online, any little car store. It's called a battery hydrometer. So it's going to check the acid in each cell. So if you don't have maintenance free, please feel free to get one. Just be careful, wear eye protection. You can wear mouth protection too because it is airborne acid, and gloves. So I'm going to show you when I take some of that acid out. Let's see where it's at. We're a little under 1100, right? Just a smidge. Look at that. There's a water reading on there, right? That means that that battery's dead. So we're going to check each cell. And you want them to be exactly the same, each cell. Well, pretty much the same there. Maybe a smidge lower. And then I'm going to check all 6 of them. Let me see this way. Well, pretty much getting there. They still look all within the same. I'm liking it. Oh, that one's higher. So we know that one's higher. Ooh, that one's almost at water. So I know that this one's almost at water and this one's the highest out of all of them. So let's do a test. Let's see if I just put a smidge, just a smidge of baking soda in there. In the highest one. Oh boy. Okay? That is literally a chemical reaction. It is neutralizing it right now. Now you're not going to put that much directly in, but when I talk about the odds of when you wash a battery with baking soda and the caps are there and that it could seep in, yeah, it might not happen every time, but it can happen because of this imperfection in the plastic. That is a vent. That's what that crack is there for. It's so that this acid chemical reaction can actually vent because you need to, or it would explode. So when you do that and you get some air down in there, boy, oh boy. So we're going to let that sit for like a minute, and then we're going to come right back and I'm going to check, and let's see where that's at. All right, we are over a minute. We're maybe at 3 minutes because I kept checking it. But in 3 minutes, watch what it did. Now, remember we were at 11, between 11 and 11:25. It's almost becoming water. It's going down that quickly in 3 minutes. Now imagine if you clean your battery terminals and that happens to get into all the cells and you think you did great, you go home or you go back, you go in the house and the next morning, you're gonna hear that knocking noise. No, a dead battery. You're like, oh, what did I do? And heaven forbid that somebody starts yelling at you because they can't get to work either. So please practice proper cleaning, and that is, if it's maintenance free, yeah, you can pretty much sprinkle it and spray it, but you're gonna have a vent somewhere, so pay attention to that. Just if you do it the same with every battery, then you won't have to worry about it, right? Basically take your terminals off, negative first, positive next, clean them, put them back together, positive, and then negative last. So negative's always first and negative's always last. That way you don't have any continuity of chemical reaction. So I want to show you real quick, I know, about how to clean the terminals properly. So let's just do it real quick. Now they do make a cleaner spray when you spray it on. And now this is a neutralizer, so make sure you don't spray it near the cap or near your own drinking water bottle. But see, this is acid. See what it does? It has completely just fuzzed right up. It's attacking that. And what I want to do is, you want to brush it away from the caps, and you want to clean it this way, towards the opposite of the caps or the covers. And where it turns red, that's actually telling you that there is a chemical reaction. Now, the reason why that kind of sprayed that way is because we actually don't use a lot of it here. What we prefer to do is the old-fashioned way here. We will literally take a spoonful of the baking soda, put it in a cup, and then add some water to it. I like to do 50-50 ratio. And then once it's in there, you can just take your brush. If you have an area where you want to get dirty, you can. Or you can just put it on like this. So that way I'm not pouring it on. I don't want to see it run over to that cap. This battery we know is no good. So yeah, I could, but what would be the point of cleaning it, right? So there's several ways to do this. You could sprinkle a little bit on there and then just dab some water on. Let's give that a shot. Let's see if I cleaned it completely, neutralized it with that other stuff. I like messing around with this stuff. Maybe I should have been a chemist. And then just take a clean rag. Make sure it doesn't go near the caps. And that's it. I mean, just, it's real basic. It's not too difficult. Just make sure you have gloves on, because trust me, your skin starts doing a little tingly dance, and it's not fun, because then it itches. Car acid, battery acid, shall I say, is something. Now you can take a nice wire brush and just clean that up. Not everybody has a battery brush. You just want to make sure it's clear. Get that old lead out of the way. You want to make sure it's nice and silver. And that's what the look you're looking for. Do the same on the terminal ends. And you do this, do it regularly if you want. And at least once a year. Have fun. Maybe train somebody. Maybe show someone. Have fun together. So now I want to show you, once you've cleaned a battery terminal, installed a new battery, and everything's clean, what you want to use. You want to use, it is a spray, and it comes in a can, and you can get it at any parts store. And it's a terminal protector. This happens to be ignition or terminal protector. So once they're all in, everything's tight, you just want to coat it like that. That's it. Not with the terminal ends off. You want to make sure the terminals are on the car, because if you coat that and then put the terminal on, it won't make a contact, right? We learned about that earlier. Cover it up, and now you are ready to go. So now I'm taking you out to the cars out here, and I'm whispering because they're videotaping in the other rooms. Who do they think they are? But I want to show you just real quick. Another important part about batteries is the way they're connected, the connection. Now this is a 65, so this is as basic as it gets. You can't get any more simpler than this nowadays. We have a negative cable and a positive cable. And you see how they're open, exposed? Back then it was fine, no big deal, because there was not a heavy amount of amperage and voltage being pulled from this alternator, because the car has nothing. It's got a transistor, it's got a radio, that's it. There's no computer in this. It's done, it's fine. This alternator put out enough power to keep the lights going and keep this battery fully charged. Made the acid do its dance and kept it voltage inside, chemical reaction going. That's all this was for. Other than that, really didn't need it much. Then we switch gears and we go to a more modern car that has everything in it, from TVs to touchscreen radio. Look at this thing. It has over 4 computer systems in it. Cables are coming out of here. Look at the battery. Look how many positive terminals to that battery. That's the one with the reds. See the red? And it's got 2 ground cables. This car asks for a lot of voltage and amperage once it's running. You can't even see the alternator. Everything's covered. It's over here. That alternator is doing its time, big time. It is earning its pay. And if this thing has a low cranking battery in that, it is not going to start. It is not happy at all, because this car, even when you're sound asleep in la-la land, this thing is causing a draw from that battery. It's not a parasitic draw. It doesn't have a draw to it that's bad for it. It's under the milliamps, technical term, that is required. But it will always keep things alive. That's how your radio station stays. That's how your clock stays. It's always drawing from that battery, even when you're in la-la land. But if it draws too much, then it's going to kill that battery. And that's why some people do draw tests on cars. And now you know why. Then we have a car that's just a regular old everyday car. You know, we all have this. We don't need to spend tons of money. It's perfect. Smaller battery, less cold cranking apps, maybe 540, 550. Alternator's pretty out in the open here. This thing's doing its job. It's getting you to work, and it's getting you home and getting to the grocery store, and it's fine. It doesn't have a TV in it. It doesn't have touchscreen. It doesn't cause that much of a draw for amperage. But that alternator will do the same thing to this, even this smaller battery. Gives it a little dance while it charges up the chemical reaction, and it keeps that puppy going, going, and going. And so that when you need it in the morning, you crank it, it's a fast crank. Whoop, gone. Car batteries and deep cycle batteries. I'm here to have you learn a little lesson or shed some light on the subject. I get tons of people talking to me about car batteries and deep cycle. I must have heard, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Why can't my car battery go dead and charge it and just keep doing that? There's a big difference between car batteries and deep cycle. Yes, marine batteries you can bring all the way down to 0, put them on a slow trickle charger, and they bounce right back and they're ready to go. They're built for that. Car batteries are not, nor are tractor or lawnmower batteries. So I'm going to give you the best, fastest education I can on the subject, and make sure that it's fun and you connect to it and say, I get it now. So what we're going to talk about, start with car batteries. What's in them? Well, there's individual cells. Now, 90% of the time, all cars come sealed up. You can't take the caps off and play with the acid or add to it. They don't want you doing that anymore. It's gone. In reality, I'm not going to lie, I hated these when they came out because I used to do the acid test, play with it, charge them, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't do it with these. And I was like, those little guys, I can't believe they did this. But reality is this is a better battery than the old days when we took the caps off. And I'm going to tell you why. Building this and how it's structured internally, this solid seal, hard, thick plastic on the top, makes it a sturdier battery. The #1 killer of batteries, I'm going to really knock your wig off, is heat and vibration, not cold. Cold doesn't make it happy, but it doesn't kill it. Heat kills it more, and so does vibration. Vibration to me is the #1 killer of batteries. And that means, because you don't want to spend money. 90% of the people will be like, $240 battery? No way. And they go buy themselves a low budget battery. But in the long run, that battery is never going to last. And the reason for it is the way it's built. You do get what you pay for. And if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But I understand if you don't have the budget for it. But I'm going to explain to you why. They're not ripping you off. One battery is not the same as the next. And trust me, I don't even have stock in it, but I'm going to help you. So, we have a lawn tractor battery. We have a car battery. Now, this is a big battery. This is like 720 cold cranking amps. Cold cranking amps, Sue, what the heck is that? Well, it actually means the actual high charge voltage of the initial crank on that battery. The higher the cold cranking, the better off you are. Then you can't be putting an 800 cold cranking amp in a Honda Civic. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't think the tray's big enough because it's a bigger battery. It means it has more plates in it. What do you mean plates? Not dinner plates? Old days, lead plates. Nowadays, these plates are carbon plastic-like or have a coating on them. There's still lead in them, but there's also a chemical plate in there that has a reaction to it. So, I'm going to go to the marker board because you know how I love it. I'm going to pull a little science here. We're going to go back to 7th and 8th grade. Let me get more comfortable clothing on. No, I don't need the coat. We're going to teach you how to do it right now. So I drew a little drawing already. I'm halfway there. And I'm just going to teach you what's in a car battery. So this is the car battery. I actually wrote it in English because I can barely spell, but I'm right there. Get your positive side, your negative side. This is what they call a top post. Top post. Now, you have a lot of side posts. That's when you'll see the circles on the side. Sometimes you get them all options, both. They're the same exact battery. It's just the way the manufacturer built it for the cables. You can love it or you can hate it. This is what a battery looks like. You always have a negative, always have a positive. Now, if I was to take the top of the battery off, this is what we would be looking down into. These are all individual cells. It's a 12 volt. All cars are 12 volt batteries. Now, when I say all, I'm sure I'm going to get someone saying, oh, my car is not. Well, if you have a Maserati, maybe you have something bigger. But the average standard car is 12 volts. Now, if you add up each cell, it's 2.1 volts. And that comes out to 12. Now, let me show you a quick test. If someone ever says to you, I checked your battery and you have a dead cell, I'm going to tell you how they knew that on a maintenance-free. The old days, we would take the caps off and we would take a hydrometer and we'd take the acid reading from each cell. And a dead cell would be like, be a straight line. And instead of reading anywhere from 9 volts for a dead battery up to 12.5 volts, we could get one that would be like 9 volts and down. That tells me that it's below the voltage it needs to be. That's a dead cell. So very simple, if you take a meter and put a meter on that, let's go back this way. I have a meter right here. This was a dead battery. I just had to put a brand new one in one of our fleet vehicles. So let's see what we got here for voltage. We got the positive is the red, and negative is black. 11.7. That's not bad, but it's not good. Brand new, this should say 12.4 to 12.6. That's what you need for it to be fully charged. 11 tells me that the battery is just dead. It's old age. Once I put a draw on this, it drops right down to 9. 9 volts doesn't equal out to 12. So that tells me one of those 2.1 cells is below 2.1. So that means I have a dead battery, a bad cell. Cannot rebuild it. You cannot bring it back to life. It is done. The chemical reaction in that cell, flatline. It doesn't want to live again. And you'll never get a full charge out of it. That's why a car battery, usually 2-3 times max, you can bring it down to 0. And it will never boost back up because you lost the charge in the cell. And the acid's like, we're just not going to work anymore. No more chemical reaction. So I want to close this out with talking about disposal of batteries. I feel like I touched a pretty good basis and got it through. Hopefully you learned a few things. But disposal is just as important. You know, they have to recycle these things. Don't leave them outside, behind the garage, in the backyard, or in the forest. It's not going to be your problem, I know, but it's going to be somebody's problem, and that's the future. Bring it to the proper disposable place. Any automotive sales place, parts store, even a garage. You get money for these. So if you look on the internet and say, oh, disposable batteries, some people might give you 20 bucks for a dead battery. Yeah, 20 bucks is 20 bucks. It's at least some gas. So hopefully you liked this video and you enjoyed it. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Keeps me going. And don't forget to ring that bell because then it turns on all your notifications and you won't miss any future videos.